Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel for UPLIFT Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Vicky, and this month I'm doing my fourth Whole30 program and capturing updates via these videos for my own use and also to share with each of you how their journey goes this month. So in the past, my other three Whole30s have been quite challenging, and I've learned and grown from each one. They've been challenging in different ways. But this time I wanted to capture the videos just so that I could, again, learn and grow and just see maybe where the challenges were this go around. So today is Friday, January 14th. It's day 12. And if you've been following along with all the videos so far, I like to start off by sharing, reconnecting with my why I'm doing the Whole30. So I'm doing the Whole30 for three different reasons. They all kind of connect to each other. So first and foremost, detoxing from sugar and processed foods. So all of the muck that they put in processed foods and all the sugar that is in so many of the things that we eat or can buy off the shelves, that actually turns into this vicious cycle of cravings and more food, processed food and sugars and all that kind of stuff over and over again. And I wanted to break that cycle. So I've said it time and time again, I have an insatiable sweet tooth. I like sweets, but I also like all kinds of things. So being able to step out of that craving cycle and reconnecting with real food, that's one of the reasons I'm doing it this time. Also, when you eat those foods, the bloat, the inflammation, the way your body can feel from each of those things, or collectively from those things even, I wanted to reduce that because I start feeling kind of gross. There's certain foods, especially, I've noticed after the other Whole30s from reintroducing some of these foods that we're not doing during Whole30, I can tell a difference, the way they feel in my body, and it doesn't feel quite so good. So again, stepping out of that, reducing the bloat, reducing the inflammation. And again, tied to that, because again, all three of these are connected, is when you reduce the inflammation, it's actually making my shoulder feel better. It's helping my shoulder feel better. I've got a calcific tendonitis. Calcium basically is built up within the shoulder joint here. It has caused some wicked pain, right? That shoots right down the arms, caused many nights of not sleeping, poor sleep, not working out because it's just so irritated. But I found through doing the Whole30s, even just once a year, from the last time I did it and this time even, that pain is subsiding, that inflammation is decreasing. So I'm super excited about that because the pain was starting to creep up again before I started this Whole30, and I'm already starting to see that it's going back down. So that's an awesome update just in itself. So connecting with my why, again, that has been, it's one of those things that, what's your why? And I haven't really done it before, but as I've been coaching and helping others connect with their why, I better practice what I preach. And so I'm really connecting with my why through this particular journey. And I found that by sharing it in these video updates, by sharing it with people that I talk to, because I get a lot of people, why are you doing a Whole30? Why does one want to do a Whole30? And then I just explain it to them, and it just helps, solidify why I'm doing it. It also has helped to strengthen my willpower. So I'm finding that as I go through the day, I'll see a box of donuts maybe at the office. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need those donuts. I'm solid in why I'm doing this. I don't have near as many cravings. I don't feel that urge to need all those things, which is super awesome, right? So just I think it's that connection of the why on a regular basis, not just setting it at the beginning and then moving on. So if you're ever working on something that is taking a lot of effort, whether it be nutritional or physical or any other thing that you're going through, set that why, because it helps to reconnect and strengthen your willpower. So a little tip there. Let's see. Oh, I like to get into the timeline, right? So the timeline of the Whole30 timeline. What can you expect while you're going through this? Like the different days, you can maybe expect some different things. So I've been using the Whole30 calendar that they provide on their website, And so let's see, my last update was day 9, which was getting into, or finishing up, maybe my pants are tighter, which I did feel a little bit of extra, bloating, and yes, some of my jeans were a little tighter. And then days 10, 11, 12, so remember today's day 12, 10, 11, and 12 are indicated as the hardest days. So that's super interesting because I feel like I kind of floated through this week so far. In the past, I've definitely felt those hardest days, but this one has just been like, yeah, easy breezy. So the hardest days, I think it depends on your mindset, the challenges that you're facing in those certain days, as you're adjusting to not eating and adjusting your habits and all this kind of thing. Not adjusting to not eating, adjusting to not eating, all those things that we're trying to avoid. So that's what we can expect. So the hardest days, in the past I would have said, yeah, for sure. But this week, certainly not. I mean, I feel like I'm very connected. I'm all in. I'm ready to go. And then as I get into turning the corner now from today into the weekend, I dream of junk food. We'll see. I don't typically have many dreams that I remember. I'm sure I dream at some point, but nothing that I can really remember. Oh, hey, I had this dream last night, and I certainly can't recall ever having dreamt of food. So, we'll see if I actually dream of junk food over the coming days. But I think also that I've been sleeping so soundly that I don't even notice that I'm dreaming if I am, right? Let's see. Now, I think last time I was talking a little bit about energy levels, and I have noticed this week that when I get home from work, I've had my willpower has been working all day. I've been busy doing things with work. I get home and I'm probably a little more tired, but it could be because I've also been increasing my workouts. So I try to work out. I try to hit the gym for weightlifting twice a week. I try to do like an all over body kind of boot camp type thing on Sundays. I try to run for 30 minutes, 45 minutes at least once a week. And of course I teach yoga on Saturdays, and I also fill in with my own yoga practice just to keep my sanity, and chill out a little bit on various days. So that's a lot of activity that I've actually increased while I've been doing the Whole30. So that could be, I've increased it and I felt good about it because I feel like my energy is really good. But I think after you get to a point in the day, the body's like, maybe let's take it a little easy. So I have been a little more tired. It could be Whole30, it could be working out more, could be the combination, right? So let's see. Willpower and cravings, it's been fine. I mentioned I'm feeling strong, feeling good. So from a craving standpoint, I feel like I'm pretty good to go. One thing I do want to mention on this particular update, so because Whole30 helps to minimize inflammation in the body. If you have an autoimmune disorder, it can't help with that. I actually happen to have one. I have psoriasis. It's not like an awesome one. It's not like one I would choose if I had to choose any. And it's something that I've had my whole life. You remember having, big psoriasis flare-ups on the back of my scalp. And it's been pretty concentrated, and it's been, up and down throughout life. And it's been down recently, right? So I haven't had any issues, any flare-ups, any itchiness or anything like that. Except for before I started my Whole30, I actually started to get a little flare just under the hairline here right above my right ear. And again, started noticing it before Whole30 started. So, my hope was, right, that it's going to reduce, it's going to kind of go away through the Whole30 process. Charlie dog has his squeaky toy. So he's running around with his little pig, beeping it. So if you hear the beeps in the background, it's Charlie. So the psoriasis flare-ups started before Whole30, and I'm 12 days in, so I'm not really sure if I should expect much clearance at this point. But one thing to note is that I have now a new psoriasis flare-up, which is actually right up here, kind of above my temple on the left side. And that was not there before Whole30 started. That's actually new within the last maybe week or so, right? So since I've started Whole30, there's this flare-up. Now it could be, that it was already in the works before I started the Whole30, and it's just kind of now manifesting and working its way out. I kind of imagine these flare-ups as like something that my body's processing and just trying to like push it out, and then once it's out, it's gone. I don't know if that's really how autoimmune works, but I feel like that's kind of how it works with me, and that's how I imagine it happening, and that helps me get through it mentally, because nobody wants to be facing an autoimmune flare-up issue or anything on an ongoing basis, right? So for me, I like to imagine that it's just coming out, it's working its way out of my system, and then it will be gone, at least for a while. So we'll see. So I'll keep an update on that as well, whether or not this one from pre-Whole30 starts to minimize, and whether or not this one that started to show up post-Whole30 or during Whole30 also starts to minimize. And just a little thing that I like to relate it to, several years ago, part of my yoga training was that we needed to experiment with like a detox kind of diet. We could craft our own detox diet. I did a raw food, kind of plant-based for several days, that then went to a mono diet where you're just eating one food. That's all you're eating whenever you're eating over 3 days. And then going back to the raw foods diet. So interesting enough, after that detox through the raw foods portion, once I got into the grapes, so it's kind of like a fasting, except that you are still eating something, but because you're only eating the one thing, the digestive system is a little more at ease. It doesn't have to do quite so much work, and so you still kind of maintain a fasting state where your body can then process through, old tissues, old cells, and just kind of renew from the inside out. So I only say that because once I got to the grapes, which was what I was eating as the mono diet, after I think I was getting through that second, if not into the third day, my body was processing everything, and I actually broke out into a mild case of hives. And again, kind of imagining that was whatever was causing those hives was deep into my cells, into my tissues, and by going through that fasting type where it's trying to clear out those old cells, it kind of brought them to the surface and resulted in hives. So kind of a long way to say that, I'm kind of thinking that the psoriasis will subside. These particular breakouts will subside as I get through. We'll see. I'll have an update, each time as we go along. Because that's an interesting point, the autoimmune response when you're doing an elimination diet, because your autoimmune response can be mitigated with diet to some extent, right? Some people have a much more severe case of different things that diet alone won't do. So of course, make sure you check with your doctor. Don't just do a Whole30 and expect everything to be all well. So that's my little disclaimer there. Okay, so that's basically how I'm doing. Really feeling really good. I've got a couple of issues, not a big deal. But what I do want to do today, while I have your attention, I just want to go back through the program rules, the Whole30 program rules of what to not eat. What are the things that we're actually eliminating from our diet? And then there are a few little exceptions, right? So that, you can't, sometimes there are some exceptions to different things just because of how things are made, things are processed, or what have you. Sorry, needed a drink. Okay, so the things that we're avoiding in a Whole30. So you're not consuming any added sugar, whether it be real or artificial. So you're not putting on like maple syrup, honey, agave nectar, coconut sugar, date syrup, monk fruit extract, stevia, Splenda, equal, NutraSweet, and xylitol. So one thing that Charlie Pup is whining at me now, so that's super fun. One thing that I want to point out, on my last update, I mistakenly said that this Vital Proteins Morning Get Up and Glow mixture that I've been using in replace my amino acids, I said it was Whole30 compliant. It's actually not. I double checked it after the video and double checked it on their website, double checked the ingredients, and even with this particular note about monk fruit extract. So I'm just double checking again. Of course, I can't find it when I'm looking for other ingredients. Yes, it has monk fruit extract. So not actually Whole30 compliant. So that's wonderful that I've been going through thinking it is. But you know what? Sometimes we're not perfect, and I'm still going through. I'm still calling it success as I move through this program. We just fix it and move forward. That's all we can do, right? Also, what's not included? Alcohol in any form, not even for cooking, right? So not a little wine to your pasta sauce or anything like that. Trying to not have tobacco products if you can. And I don't smoke, I don't use tobacco, so for me that's not a thing. Here's a big one. Don't eat grains. So the grains, standard wheat, rye, barley, oats, corn. A lot of people mistake corn for a vegetable. It's a grain. Rice, millet, bulgur, sorghum, sprouted grains, any gluten-free pseudo cereals like quinoa, amaranth, am I saying that right? Amaranth, and buckwheat. And then any of the ways that we, the food processors add things like that into our foods. So you find wheat, corn, and rice in the form of bran, germ, starch, and so on. So you've got to check your labels, but grains are out. And I like bread, I like bagels, so that's one of those things that in the past has been a super challenge for me. And this go around, really not so bad. I'm finding lots of good things to replace them with. Cashews, raw cashews have been a real help on those. Let's see. Okay, the next one, don't eat most forms of legumes. Beans, black, red, pinto, navy, garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas, which means hummus is out. White beans, kidney beans, lima beans, fava beans, cannellini, lentils, adzuki, mung, cranberry beans, and black-eyed peas. Peanuts, including peanut butter, peanut oil, and any forms of soy sauce, miso, tofu, tempeh, edamame, soy protein, soy milk, soy lecithin. So some of those things, like, you wouldn't even think, right? It's like, oh, well, that's a healthy option, and it may generally be a healthier option. It's just not a Whole30 option. Big fad right now is oat milk. Oat milk's out. It's made with oats, a grain. Sorry. That was for the last one, but it's not a legume, it's a grain, but you get the idea. And I don't use soy milk anyway, so for me, soy milk. Now, soy sauce is out. You can use coconut aminos though, that's a great substitute. All right, next thing, don't eat dairy. That's another big one for me. Not so much the milk, but the cheese. Oh my gosh, loving cheese, right? So cow's milk, goat's milk, sheep's milk, things like milk, cream, cheese, kefir, yogurt, sour cream, ice cream, or frozen yogurt. So I did find coconut milk yogurt. So that's been a great replacement. It's not texture one for one, but like, it's creamy, it's cool, I like it. So you can find some different options. It just doesn't have all the other stuff in it. And it certainly doesn't have the dairy byproducts in there. Not consuming carrageenan or sulfites. So this is where you really have to check your labels, because there are quite a few foods that are processed that use carrageenan and sulfites. for, I think it's more like a preservative type thing. So you have to exclude any of those. There are some like those powders that you put into your drinks. I found some like before that, oh, here's a great natural option, but it had carotene in it. So when I did the Whole30, I couldn't use it. Okay, so here's a fun one. Well, it's not fun because you can't do it, but do not recreate or purchase baked goods based on those foods that we're trying to eliminate and avoid, right? So we're eliminating these foods to also help, the mental tie to them. We're breaking that mental tie, that dependence. And so if you recreate something that's like it, even though it's with Whole30 compliant foods, then you're not actually breaking that tie. You're just finding another way to do the thing, right? Like pancakes, okay? Yes, you could make Whole30 compliant pancakes, but pancakes that are usually made with grains and then topped with maple syrup and all that kind of stuff, those start to form the habit or start to reconnect to that habit of needing the sugar, needing the grains, and could be what the Whole30 program Melissa calls food without breaks, right? So and whatever it is for you, it could be cupcakes, it could be muffins, it could be pancakes, cheesecake, I don't know, but usually it's a lot of sweets and treats that get recreated and are Whole30 compliant, but also not, because they're reconnecting with what it is we're trying to break those habits of. Okay, so now this is an interesting one for me. So this next one is we're not stepping on the scale, taking any body measurements for 30 days. This has been one, it hasn't been challenging to not step on the scale, but I, over time, kind of developed this. We have a scale in the bathroom, right? So as I'm getting ready in the morning, I was like, oh, I'll just step on the scale and see how much I weigh today. And the next day, or maybe, 2 days away. So I was stepping on the scale. Now he has a cow. I was stepping on the scale 3 or 4 times a week. 3 or 4 times a week just to see how much I weigh. Not connecting so much with how I feel, not connecting with what I see in the mirror and whether or not I feel positive about what I see in the mirror. But what does the number say? So the number, the metric, whether you do tape measures or scale, right? So the scale for me, and it could be tape measure for other people, those numbers are just one thing. And a lot of people, like that one thing does not define your health. It does not define where you are on your wellness journey. It's just a number. So the fun thing about weight and measurements is you could take 2 people, they weigh the same. One person could be squishy, right? Which could be a little soft. The other person could be chiseled, right? And they're gonna look different, they're gonna feel different, but they weigh the same, right? So that's why it's important that the numbers are not what counts. And even with Whole30, like, you get the result of weight loss, if that's what you're looking for, without having to count calories, without having to step on the scale and measure yourself and all the things. You still get the benefits while also running an experiment for yourself as to what foods help you feel good, what foods don't make you feel good. Because, again, the number on the scale is just one thing. What's more important is how you feel and how you feel about yourself. So self-confidence and feeling energetic, feeling like you can go out and do anything, those are the most important things, not the number on the scale. So, okay. So those are the things, sorry, I just clicked off it. Those are the things that are excluded, but what about those exceptions? So some of the exceptions, okay, you cannot have dairy, but you can have ghee or clarified butter. Butter normally is dairy, but if you melt it down and scrape off the milk proteins that usually float to the top, then you have ghee or clarified butter. You can also buy it. I probably have one back here. Yeah, so this one is from Thrive Market. So it just comes in a container, kind of like coconut oil, right? So that you can do, and you can use that for cooking. You can use it for topping on things, and it tastes it tastes a lot like, there is a little difference, I'll admit, but it does taste a lot like butter. Fruit juice. Fruit juice, so because it'd be really sweet, right? It's like a concentrated form of fruit. You can use it as a natural sweetener, right? So if something you're cooking or making needs to have a little bit of sweetness, but you're not adding actual sweetener, you could put a little bit of fruit juice in there, and that is okay. There are certain legumes that you can have. You can have green beans and most peas, like sugar snap peas, snow peas, green peas, yellow peas, split peas. Those are all allowed, as are vinegar and botanical extract. So vinegars that you might use, red wine, and then white, balsamic, apple cider, rice vinegar. Also, you can use vanilla, lemon, lavender, botanical extracts. You just can't use malt-based vinegar or extracts because they contain gluten, which gets back to the grains, right? I mentioned earlier coconut aminos. Instead of soy sauce, you can try coconut aminos. Now you don't want to get, I think they're just called them liquid aminos. You don't want liquid aminos because it still has some of the stuff in there that we don't want. You want coconut aminos. There is a difference, so make sure you read the label. Usually it's really big, liquid aminos or coconut aminos, so you can't miss it. You just have to read it. And then salt. So you can have salt, and why is that worth mentioning? So something that I learned through going to Whole30, when you buy your containers of salt, they actually mix in a little bit of sugar, and it has something to, sorry, Charlie's whining at me again. The sugar actually helps to keep some of the nutrients, kind of like a pup. Come on. It's kind of like a preservative for the salt. So there actually is sugar in salt, but having salt is okay. It's like negligible, right? So those are the things that we're avoiding in this 30-day process, along with the exceptions. And so sharing that with you is also very helpful for me as a reminder, because then I get to realize something I've done wrong, been having something with my workouts that I probably shouldn't have been having, and it just helps me remember going forward. So when I'm doing my grocery list and everything, I can remember, oh yeah, we're not having those things. So that is it for my updates today. So again, today was day 12. Been on this cadence of about every 3 days, so I'm planning to do the next one on day 15, which would be halfway through. So I'm hoping to have a solid report for you then. If you don't already subscribe to my channel, make sure you subscribe, and then if you want to get notified when I post these new video updates, click the bell, and that will send you those reminders. Yeah, so I think that's it. If you are curious about any of the stuff I talked about today, I have a slew of links on Whole30 and some other things down in the notes below, so be sure to check those out, and I'll check back in a few days. Stay healthy.